The members of the committee feel that our mandate in directing the design and construction of the fire station is to follow the guidance that we've given in the town bylaws, the town master plan of 2020, and the fact that we voted to become a stretch code community in 2017. So in the master plan, our responsibility is to direct the town to become resilient and sustainable. And we believe that the design and construction of the new fire station, which needs to be safe, healthy, and energy efficient, is part of our mandate. These guidelines of being a stretch code community or a green community are in line with the state's goal to become net neutral by 2050. This state goal is also a federal goal. And in order to reach that, we need to use our new construction, our update of vehicles, maintenance of our existing infrastructure to become as energy efficient as possible. Some of the larger issues that relate to building performance, which make up about 40% of all emissions, is that the IPCC in 2018 was recommending a maximum temperature increase, world temperature increase of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, to reach that target, they're recommending to keep the total greenhouse gas emissions parts per million to 350. Unfortunately, since in the last 10-12 years, that number has been increasing. We are now up to 424 parts per million. Our greenhouse gas emissions are going to exhaust the budget globally in 6 to 7 years. So this larger perspective tells us the urgency of what we need to do locally. We need to adhere to the state guidelines for energy efficiency, and we need to implement those in the design of all our new buildings.
So a geothermal system is one where they drill a number of wells deep into the ground, because once you get a few feet below the ground, the temperature is the same year-round. It's a nice, comfortable, probably mid-upper 60s. And the idea is you put something down there, and then you draw it back up, and it's a nice, comfortable temperature that you use to base the heating or cooling of the building around. And you may be familiar with that. Our senior center has a geothermal system. It's a number of years old, and it uses an older technology called an open-loop geothermal system. I'll talk about that because there have been some maintenance issues with the senior center's geothermal system. An open-loop geothermal system sends water down into the ground and pulls water back up from the ground. And when you pull water up from the ground from a number of deep wells, you get a lot of sediment, and the sediment gets into the pipes in the building, and that causes some trouble. So these open-loop geothermal systems aren't used anymore, at least in New England. So we're using a closed-loop geothermal system, and a closed-loop geothermal system has pipes that go into the ground, and the pipes are filled with an antifreeze type solution that is very good for conducting the heat and the colder air from underground. And because of that, no sediment is ever pulled up, so the issues that we've had at the senior center will not occur, really can't occur at the fire station. Now, when we started to look at the geothermal system, the first thing we saw was the cost. It's pretty expensive. It comes in at about $1.3 million, more expensive than a regular HVAC system that you'd put into a fire station now. And that concerned us a little bit. But then we discovered that there are a number of rebates, both from the state and federal government. So the state's Mass Save program, which is the same one that you can get free energy audits and LED light bulbs and save with some rebates on your home HVAC systems, has a very big program that's based on the tonnage of the geothermal system, the HVAC system in the building. So we're eligible to get about $900,000 back from that. And then a couple of years ago, the federal government, Congress and the President signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act. And one aspect of that is tremendous incentives for geothermal systems. So this is based on the cost of the system, not the tonnage of the system. So the exact amount we won't know until we finish construction, but it's going to be somewhere around $1 million, $1.1 million of rebate that we'll get back. So we'll get back about $1.9 million, which more than offsets the $1.3 million difference in cost over the base system. So right from the get-go, it'll be $600,000 cheaper for the geothermal system than a regular system. The other energy efficiency aspect of the building I want to talk about are solar panels. So we'll be running conduit to the roof for future solar panels. We may end up putting the panels in ourselves, either as part of construction or after construction, or we may have an outside company do it, which is what we're doing with some of the schools in Northborough. And there are pros and cons of each approach. If we buy them ourselves, we're eligible for certain rebates. If we have somebody else do it, we don't have to front the capital costs. But either way, having solar panels on the roof will offset some of the electricity costs that are in the building.
A critical aspect of sustainable design is the health and well-being of the building occupants. Natural light is a large part of supporting and enabling that type of health. In this building, we have lots of windows in occupied spaces, but in addition, we are proposing that the apparatus bays, where many of the firefighters spend the majority of their day working, be provided with roof monitors. By including roof monitors over the apparatus bays, we are offering the occupants, the firefighters, a better workplace. It has been shown that natural light in the workplace contributes to mental health, but also reduces absenteeism. The committee has talked a lot about how we make this a sustainable building. And specifically, we've looked at technologies or requirements that will not inherently increase the cost of the building. For instance, there are aspects of sustainability that are now included in the requirements of the new Mass Energy Code. So what does that mean? That means that we have to make a building that's solar ready. So that means that the infrastructure of the building is designed and built to accommodate future installations of PV panels on the roof. Secondly, EV chargers for electric vehicles are also required under the new code. So that provision is being built in. And that's something where we have the opportunity to apply for grant funding as well. Beyond that, there are numerous sustainable technologies that don't add cost to the building. That may have to do with the selection of interior materials or the types of glazing that you use. These do not necessarily increase the cost. It is the hope of the building committee that the new Northborough Fire Station will not only support the current needs of the fire department, but will also support the growth that is to come, as well as providing a climate-friendly solution for generations to come.